Okay. Hi everyone. So welcome to BA Helpline and welcome to my next video, which is going to be a complete roadmap for experienced professionals who want to transition into BA role. So if you're a experienced professional and especially if you're not a BA and if you want to transition into a BA role, then this video is for you where I will be sharing what should be my approach. Okay, according to me, what approach you should take, okay, if you are a non-BA and if you have some experience and if you want to enter into BA role. Okay, so I'll try to make it little practical. So let's start with the video and let me share my screen. Okay, so practical roadmap for non-BA experienced professionals transitioning into BA role. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this into a five step, okay? Five-step roadmap. I'm going to make it, okay? So let's start with step number one, okay? So step number one would be to identify, okay, whether you have transferable skill, transferable skills into BA role. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, this is uh, stage where a lot of people don't focus, I would say, or they make an instant decision that I want to just move into BA role or I just want to become a BA. But I would suggest you to take a pause and first uh, think that whether you have those skills in your current experience or whatever experience you have, whether you have those skills which can be utilized in BA role. Now, this is very important. Okay. Now, why I'm saying that? Uh, because if you don't have those transferable skills, the transition is going to be very difficult for you. Okay. Having said that, nothing is impossible. Okay, so if I'm making this video, I'm not saying that it is impossible for someone who don't have transferable skills. Okay, it is impossible for them to transition into BA role. No, I'm not saying that. uh, it is possible, it might be possible. Okay, but it is going to be challenging. So it's very important to tell yourself that this is going to be a very challenging journey if I don't have transferable skills. Okay, now, what do I mean by transferable skills versus non-transferable skills, or transferable role versus non-transferable role? Okay, so there are certain roles, or there are certain experiences that you have, okay, which can be converted into BA role, but there are certain experiences which is very difficult to convert into BA role. Okay, and the reason I'm emphasizing on this step is because most of us skip this step and uh, move to the next step. Okay, but I want you to take some time and think on this step. So, what are the transferable role? So, according to me, if uh, if you are a QA, if you are into QA, okay, so QA means if you are into testing role, okay, then this is a transferable role. Okay, your journey would be easy if you compared to the non-transferable role. Your journey would be easy when you transition into BA role because QAs, uh, testers, they work closely with BA. Okay, say a lot of things they know what BA does. Okay, and there are a lot of transferable skills. Which of QA, there are a lot of skills of QA which can be utilized in BA. Okay, so this is one such role where I would say that you can move to BA role. If you are a developer, okay, if you are from a technical side, then it would be little easy for you to transition into BA role. Okay, so developers role are also transferable role into BA role. Okay, uh, if you're working um into operations, okay, so operations people also have domain knowledge, okay, and a lot of skills in operations can be utilized in BA role, and you have an advantage that you have the domain knowledge, and based on that domain knowledge, okay, your journey can be easy, so you can convert it into a BA role. Okay, if you are a data analyst, okay, or any sort of analyst, if you are, okay, then easily your role can be transferable into a BA role. So what do I mean by non-transferable role? So these were some of the example of transferable role. So what do I mean by non-transferable role? So non-transferable role in the sense, for an example, if you are in IT, but if you are in prod support, okay, so or any kind of support you are in, so it becomes very difficult for you to transition. If you are into sales, okay, so again this becomes a lot of I mean there are a lot of sales skills, your communication skills, okay, and other skills that will be helpful, but still it is very difficult to transition from sales into uh, uh, a BA role. Okay, uh, I think yeah, so this is one such role where it would be very difficult. Or let's say I come across a lot of people, or I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn that people who are working uh, as a delivery person, okay, for an example, uh, or if you are here in Canada, people are driving Uber, okay. Uh, so for them, again, it becomes very difficult to transition into this role, I would say, okay. So I mean, the any kind of support role, okay, sales role, okay, or here in Canada, I also see like there are a lot of people working in clinics, okay. Uh, they want to, or as a nurse, okay, if they want to transition into BA role, so for them it becomes very difficult, okay. So I'm just giving few example to give you an idea that there are the difference between transferable role and non-transferable role. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're in IT or you're not in IT, but if your skill sets or like majority of your skill sets can be used in BA role, okay, like QA developer, or if you're in operations also, data analyst, any sort of analyst you have, okay, any sort of analyst you are, okay, then it becomes very easy for you to transition into BA role. But on the same side, if you're into sales, if you're into delivery, if you're into driving, if you're into clinic, nurse, okay, so these roles from here transition is very difficult. Okay, now why I am saying this, because step two will depend upon what decision you have taken in step one. Okay, so again, I'm not saying I'm not demotivating you, or I'm not stopping anyone from coming anyone I'm not stopping anyone to come to BA role. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is there are other ways to enter into IT. Okay, BA is not the only role where you need to enter. So for the non-transferable people, I just want to say that if you get an opportunity, or if you see that there is a way to enter into IT in some other roles, okay, like for an example, if you get an opportunity to enter as a project coordinator, okay, for an example, or if you are getting getting entry into like let's say or for an example, as a in QA, if you get an entry, again it's very difficult to enter into QA also, but I'm just giving you an alternate part. Okay, so or if you learn some technical skills, okay, because developers, even if they have less domain knowledge, okay, based on their technical skills, they can be hired. So if you can learn any particular technology, okay, and based on that technology you can be hired. Okay, so let's say if you learn SQL, so you can be hired as database developers. Okay, so those are the roles, like those are the skills that you can utilize and enter into IT role. And then when you enter into IT, okay, then you, after spending some time, okay, you can make your way to BA role if that is your end goal. Okay, but if directly it is, if you find that it is very difficult, then don't push yourself, don't waste your time. Okay, try to enter into IT role using some other path. Okay, and then you can transition into BA role. Okay, now, so once you have decided whether your role is transferable or it's non-transferable, okay, your skill sets, then pick up a course and learn. Okay, pick up a course and learn. Now here also we do I do see people doing a lot of mistakes where learning doesn't mean that you just uh, uh, do a theoretical course or do some free courses on YouTube's or Udemy. No, I mean free courses are a good to start with. Okay, but uh, I would suggest you to do a course end to end. Okay, do a course end to end. Okay. Now, what do I mean by end to end? So that course should be theoretical plus practical. Okay. That means all the theory that you're learning, you should be able to apply it. Okay. And as you have certain years of experience, because this particular video is for experienced professional, non BAs. So as you have certain years of experience, can you apply all the techniques that you're learning, or from start to end can you apply whatever you are learning into your uh, existing existing role that you are playing, or existing experience that you have, or existing project that you are working in? Okay, wherever you are working, can you apply these techniques, whatever you are learning, the theoretical techniques that you're learning? If you can apply, then that is your real learning. If you cannot apply, then you should stop and you should think over there that how you can apply, because this way of learning will actually help you in step 5, which is when you prepare for interviews. Okay, so don't just do random learning. Okay, don't just do some sequential learning from start to end. Okay, like when a project is assigned, now BA role is not same in every project, it differs from project to project, but have a general understanding that when a project is assigned, okay, what does how does a BA fit in a project? Okay, from where does a BA start? Okay, if you get a document, so what do you do? Okay, and can you do that in your existing work that you are doing? Okay, no, in your existing project that you're working, so can you apply all the things that you're learning in a course? Okay, can you apply that practically? So learn in that way. Practical application is very important, because in interview when you go, okay, you're not going to get questions where you will ask to define something. No, you will be put in situations, in scenarios, okay, where the interviewer is going to see what is your approach, what is your mindset as a BA. Okay, because day to day, this is what you're going to face as a BA. Okay, this role is full of challenges, and every day is will come with some sort of challenges. So how do you tackle that? Okay, what is your approach? What steps you are going to take? Okay, so that is something which interviewers are interested in knowing, and based on that, a decision will be made. Okay, so theoretical learning is not going to help. Theoretical plus practical and its application in your existing project. Okay, that is the way that you should learn, according to me, I would say. Okay, next, I would say, once that you have learned, and again, uh, from where you want to learn, which course, which training, that I will leave up to you. Okay, but whichever training or whichever course you join, just ensure that they are giving you a project, and they are taking that project, and based on that project they are teaching you. Okay, the project can be from any domain. Okay, at the beginning, don't focus on the domain, I would say. Okay, domain is very vast. Okay, and you can't learn a domain in a training. Okay, so what is important is project from any domain, or such a domain where you can relate to. Okay, if you get a training on that from start to end, what a business analyst do, then that is going to help you, and that will be your actual learning, because you know how to apply techniques, how to apply, how to use the tools. Okay, so for an example, you learned use case diagram. Okay, but you don't know where to use, when to use. Okay, where does a use case diagram fit for a BA? Okay, you learned user story, but when do we write user story? Why do we write user story? Where do we write user story? Okay, so, or process flow diagrams. So when do you need to create? Why do you create? When can you create? Can you create it for your existing project? So that is practical application, and that is how you should learn, according to me. Okay. Now, once you have completed your learning, then move to your resume part. Create your resume. Okay. Now, creating a resume doesn't mean that you just create one resume and you apply to all the jobs with that resume. No, always customize your resume. Okay. And as you are an experienced professional, okay, and you are moving into a BA role which will demand some years of experience as a BA. So I would advise you to show some years of experience as a BA. Okay. So let's say for an example, and I always say that keep 30 to 3 is to 7 ratio. For an example, let's say if you have uh, or 4 is to 6 ratio, 10 years of experience you have. So you can show 4 years of experience as a BA and then remaining 6 years as your original experience. Okay. Now, again, a lot of you will have a question that what will happen during background verification when if I show my experience as a BA. So there is a way to tackle it. You can say that your designation is XYZ. Okay, it was into it was an analyst or it was an executive. Again, I'm speaking for the transferable role. Okay, for non-transferable role, it would be very difficult. Okay, so for a transferable role, you can say your designation was a QA, but you were playing both the role of a QA and BA. Okay. Again, your most of the companies' designation is never a developer. Okay, role is a developer, and in your really releasing letter, you get your designation. So designations are like system engineer, system analyst. You get these type of executive. You get these type of designation. So you can always say that your designation was executive, but your role inside your project was a business analyst, or you can say that you internally transitioned into a business analyst role, depending upon the company type and situation. Okay, but do show some years of experience as a BA. Otherwise, your resume will not get shortlisted. Okay, despite showing all the skill sets, using all the strong BA keywords, if it doesn't match the experience criteria, it will not be shortlisted. So, first step is to get your resume shortlisted, and then the next question will come on the during the interviews on your background and all those things. Okay, but let's first cross the first step. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, let's say if there is a opening and it says minimum 5 years of experience you should have as a BA. Okay, and if you show all your 10 years, let's say you have 10 years of experience. Okay, and if you show all your 10 years of experience into operations, okay, or as a QA, then your resume will not be shortlisted. Okay, because you don't have that 5 years experience as a BA. So I would suggest in that case, show 5 years as a BA minimum, and then remaining 5 years as a QA, just to give you an example. And add strong BA keywords. Okay, add a lot of BA keywords in your resume, BA tools. Okay, agile keywords, and write your responsibilities section properly. Don't just say gathered requirement. Okay, give the impact also, what impact you made. Okay, through requirement gathering or through process mapping, whatever. So use AI to draft your resume, and put metrics wherever applicable. Don't put metrics everywhere. So I can make another video on how to create resume and everything, but here I'll keep it short. So in short, just put that required experience and use those keywords in your resume. And most important, customize your resume as per the JD. So whatever skill sets are there in the JD, at least 90% put it in your resume so that it gets shortlisted. Okay, then I would say next step would be to apply to the jobs. Okay, now here I have seen many people, they just stick to one portal like Naukri. Okay, or you stick to, you are only applying jobs on LinkedIn. No, just try to explore different job portals. Okay, if you are on LinkedIn, just don't apply through job section. Okay, there are a lot of BA job groups on LinkedIn, so join all those BA job groups. Okay, because some or other people would be posting in that particular job group, and if it is if it matches with your skill set, and if it is matches with your location and everything, so you can apply to those jobs. Okay, so third, I would say make connections, make as many connections as possible on LinkedIn. So I think we have 30,000 limit. Okay, so utilize all your 30,000 connection limit on LinkedIn. So if you have 30,000 people, so you can ask them for referral if they have any in the BA space in their particular company. Okay, so I would suggest you to use that method also. Again, search jobs using hashtags. Okay, like hashtag business analysis jobs. Okay, so there would be all the post which has used that hashtag will appear, and again you can apply from there. Okay, most of the posts, they have email ID over there, so you can send your uh, uh, resume over there. Okay, then I would say um, uh, use cold emails, which most of the people don't use. Okay, so there are a lot of tools that help you to get email IDs of the recruiters or of your connections if let's say most of your connections are not responding, okay, on LinkedIn. So you can get their email ID and you can email them. Okay, so there are a lot of tools. I would not recommend any tool, but I mean, I'm just giving you that. Keep that option in your mind where you can get email IDs of the recruiters, of the business analyst, okay, of the HRs, and you can just send them a cold email and you can send your resume and ask if there is any opening in BA space. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is in step 4, don't just restrict yourself to one portal, or don't just restrict yourself to one way of application where you're going in the job section and you are filtering out and you are applying. No, there are other ways also. Okay, join the job groups. Okay, I'll put the description of my job group in Telegram, where I whenever I come across jobs, okay, I share in that particular group. Okay, so there are so many similar job groups, okay, on Telegram, on WhatsApp, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. So try to join those uh, groups, because most of the people post, and it's a good way to apply for the jobs. Okay, apart from applying through Naukri and other uh, usual medium what we follow. Okay, and then look for ask your connections to refer. Okay, and then search using hashtags, again very important, and then send cold emails. Next and the final step will be interview preparation. Now, how do we prepare for interview? See, in step 2, you picked up a course and you learned. Okay, so your preparation should not stop over there. Okay, while you're creating your resume and while you're applying to the jobs, parallelly you should be preparing for the interviews. So interview preparation is not just one day before the interview. Okay, let's say your interview is scheduled tomorrow, and one day before you start your preparation. No, right from the day when you pick when you're starting your learning. Okay, so from that day only your interview preparation also starts. Okay, like I said, when you learn, okay, any topic, so see to that, like make sure that you are able to apply it practically in your current project. Okay, not the projects that is being used in the training, or not the internet project. Okay, or the case studies in your existing project. Are you able to relate that? Are you able to align that? So create your stories, create your narrations. Okay, because that is going to help you when you are preparing for interviews, or when you are near to interviews. Okay, if you prepare just before interview, one day preparation is never going to help you. Okay, so it's the months of preparation which will give you confidence to speak in the interviews. Okay, so and from an interview preparation perspective also, don't start your preparation with question and answers. Okay, like you took some questions, like I also share a lot of question and answers on LinkedIn, and don't just directly start from there. Okay, first make sure that you are preparing your good introduction. Then whatever experience you are showing in your resume as a BA, you have a solid project narration. Okay, as a BA, not as a operations, not as a data analyst, not as a developer, not as a QA, not as a XYZ role, as a BA, because you have shown 5 years of experience as a BA. So make sure that your project narration is very good. Okay, that means you're able to narrate your project confidently. Okay, using strong BA keywords. Okay, from start to end, what you have done in your project. So do that. Okay, then uh, create cross questions based on your project narration. Okay, like if you are a, you can use AI and you can upload your narration and you can ask AI to chat GPT to create cross questions. Okay, what kind of cross questions chat GPT, like what kind of cross questions recruiter can ask or interviewer can ask. Okay, so I'll create a separate video on which how you can how to write prompts and for a better output. Okay, because I see a lot of people struggling over there also. But here I am just giving an idea that you can use AI tools. Okay. Then once you have prepared your cross questions, okay, then whatever topics you have learned, okay, in your course or in your training, make sure that you prepare examples and scenarios from the projects. Okay, from the projects that you have worked in. Okay, no, again remember, no training projects, no internet projects, no case studies. The examples and scenarios that you are preparing, okay, that should be from your real project that you have worked in. irrespective of whichever role you have worked in, because now you're changing it to BA role, you're showing BA experience. So you have to create examples and scenarios, okay, from that particular project only. Okay, so remember, I said that your actual preparation starts from step two and not just before the interview. So during the interview, you just try to revise everything, whatever you have been preparing from so long. Okay, so make sure you prepare examples, okay, and then start practicing those questions which I have posted on LinkedIn, or people post on LinkedIn or internet. You will get a lot of questions. Okay, so treat it as a mock interview and practice, and see that whether you are able to answer properly, whether you are able to structure your answer, whether you are able to answer using examples and scenarios from your project. If you're able to do that, then believe me, no one is going to stop you to clear an interview. Again, uh, having said that, the outcome is never in our hand. Okay, what will happen in interview, despite giving the interview, giving 100% to the interview, still the outcome might not go in our favor. Okay, I'm not commenting on that, but from your side, if you follow all these steps, then I can say that you have given your 100%. Just continue doing that, continue doing the right work. Okay, avoid the mistakes that you have done in the previous interviews, and believe me, the result would be near, or the that success would is near, I would say. Okay, so yeah, so this is a short and 5-step practical roadmap that I wanted to give, which I have actually implemented it on lot of my students in these 5-6 years, and which has given me success and my student success. So that's the reason I have shared it with you guys. I hope this helps a lot of BAs, a lot of non BAs, experienced non BAs. I will create a video for freshers. I have created a YouTube short video on how freshers can move into BA role, but I will create a detailed video for freshers also. But this one I wanted to create for non BA experienced professionals. If you are stuck and if you want to move to BA role, so I hope this video helps you, and do share it with your colleagues and other people. Okay, if they also want to move to BA role. Okay, that's all from this video. Thank you so much.